So my point is, the novelty which ignites the brain. And then creative artwork. We're lucky enough to have an art teacher, but that's more direct art. But anytime you do artwork in cross-curricular areas, it's just another way to have your brain clump information together, which will, hopefully the children will understand concepts for a longer period of time. Music and drama, a lot of times we act out books, we act out poetry. With music, we sing words, SE, so C, SE, we sing all the time. I know a lot of elementary schools do this, but I don't think it would be so scary to do it in middle school or high school. And I know my friend Jen, who will be speaking, I remember going to Pepperdine with her, and she was telling me about like a rap assignment that the kids had to do. And I just think that, why stop music and drama at the elementary level? Why not keep that going? So like I said, this was more reinforcing for me as an elementary teacher. Integrate subjects, I think we have a couple teachers talking about that. Just how we do science projects, we talk about the letter P and potatoes, and we grow potatoes, and then we sing about potatoes, and anytime you integrate, once again, you're chunking pieces of that brain, so your brain will latch onto it. Problem solving, real world issues at the upper level, what would you have done, if you were on the disaster team for Hurricane Katrina. All of this, I'm just talking about, the rigor and relevance. I don't know if we're going to get to that as a whole conversation, but that rigor is part of that problem-solving framework. Brain breaks, we do this all the time in my classroom. So we either, anytime you cross the midline or the line of symmetry, your elbow across. We do these in the morning, we do these in the morning, we put our arms, and anyway, anytime you cross the midline, you're stimulating brain growth. Anytime you stand up and tell your children a skill, like you do the math Macarena, anytime you get them up, like even Dr. Nussbaum said, just once you're up, you're exercising and your brain is moving and moving and moving. So I'm sounding repetitive, but it's really important, especially at elementary. Let's see. Like I said, we need to educate ourselves more as teachers, principals, parents. A brain health committee would be a great idea. I don't know if I can get that started at Round Meadow maybe, but I know the parents would be all for that. So, physical activity, mental stimulation, nutrition, spirituality, socialization. These are all part of a healthy brain that Dr. Nussbaum speaks about, and you can read more at Building a Brain Health Environment. So, all important. So that's the brain in a very small nutshell. And then boys and girls, you guys all know as teachers and parents that are married, spouses, relationships, boys and girls are different. And how that works in the classroom, you can see it every day. Girls are more willing to complete tasks because they're more interested in pleasing the teacher, oftentimes, more responsive to tone. With regards to vision, their eyes are more designed for reading, and boys' eyes are designed for that movement, those Legos, those building blocks, those trains going across the room. Girls' fine motor skills just develop earlier, and that's a fact, and you can see it when they're doing writing, when they're sewing, anything like that. In small groups, girls feel more comfortable asking for help, and stress adversely affects them when testing, 58% going to college. And then there's the boys, who we love too, who balance out the classroom just like those girls. And they complete tasks if they're really interested in it, which is why we need to give them more freedom in their writing prompts and freedom in their science experiments. And their eyes, like I said, are designed for more movement. Competition. Yes, I mean, girls are competitive too, because I am. But the boys, even if we're reading a book, and I say, okay, how many words "the" can you find or something? They're just so competitive, and they're highlighting like crazy, and the girls are more waiting for everyone to take a turn, and so just competition will actually produce better academic results. Moderate stress because of that competition is helpful. And the risk-taking, take that whole tub of blocks and build me a city and then go write about it. They're more interested, whereas sometimes, I mean, I would like that as a girl, but generally speaking, stereotypically, the girls like more of a concrete goal. And how will that look? Planners. Boys thrive. 42% are going to college. So, how can we do this, and what are some of us already doing in math? Maybe after first grade and on, the time tests, I think the boys are into, they like that competition. And like I said, the girls like the objective. What is my objective? And the role playing, like I said, dramatic play. We're talking about acting out stories and poems and math problems, acting it out. And boys like to do more of those hands-on experiences and projects. So that's all I have. It was more reinforcing for me to talk about gender studies and the brain. So I'll learn more about the brain if you learn more about the brain. That's all I have.
To talk a little bit about 21st century learning, we have Melissa First and Stacy LaFrance, who are going to tag team this presentation.
Hello, good evening. I'm Stacy LaFrance. I'm a third grade teacher at Willow Elementary. This is my 14th, going on 15th year teaching third grade. And I will just start by just saying I was excited to get the opportunity to go to model schools anytime that the district or LVF is offering staff development. I'm pretty much on it. And then the bonus of being able to go to Florida and have a nice trip with another teacher from the staff was another bonus.
I'm Melissa First. I'm a second grade teacher this year at Willow Elementary. And it was a great opportunity to go to model schools. We learned a lot. It was a very invigorating experience as a teacher professionally to bring back a lot of new ideas. And I would jump at the chance to go again also.
When we came back from our trip, we did plan right away with our principal, and we did present our similar PowerPoint that we're going to show now. We presented that to our staff pretty much within the first month of getting back to school, and I think that's indicative of just how excited we were from what we found out, what we learned, and what we wanted to share and start doing right away.
So in the presentation tonight and at our school, we highlighted the things that most stood out to us at model schools that made the biggest impression. And then also the last part will be, how did we actually apply this in our classrooms and with our students this year? What were the changes we made?
So we pulled out 4 things that we wanted to share with our staff right away. As you've already heard, there was lots and lots and lots of different things you can learn at model schools, keep you busy 5 days of learning. So we pulled out these 4 big ideas as what we thought our staff needed to hear right away. And I'll start with the first one. From the keynote speaker the first day, we learned about that we needed to be preparing for the national standards. And the keynote, I guess it was McNulty, had said that every school and school district needs to have a 3-year plan to get prepared for the new national standards. And so what those mean, we have state adopted standards now, but they vary state to state. And as each state got on board, they realized our testing was not similar. We couldn't compare our results from California, compare it to Iowa, compare it to Massachusetts. So they have written national standards. They are fewer, they're fewer standards, they're more focused, but they want to analyze more critical thinking and application in the real world, which is very different than what we have now in California. And the more updated news on this is that California has gotten on board and started getting ready for the national standards, and that the new California standardized test will include some questions for the national test starting in 2011. So it was beneficial to come back right away and be able to tell our staff immediately that we need to be changing up what we're expecting so our kids are going to be ready by 2011 for some of the piloting questions.
The next big idea was moving from best practices to next practices, keeping in mind the idea of 21st century learners, that skill sets are different. The skills our students are going to need to walk out with at every level of education will be different. And we're always going to share our best practices, but we have to look not only at the way we do things now, but how can we really do things differently in order to increase student achievement.
And along with those next practices is really the 21st century learner model. And again, when we came home from our trip from Florida, we were very excited and met with our principal over the summer. And as we were talking with her, Melissa and I shared, as Jason mentioned, we had similar vocabulary coming back from the conference. And our principal on her desk, as we're talking to her, has a book that was called 21st Century Learning. And so she also knew exactly the same verbiage, and apparently our superintendent, Dr. Zimmering, had asked all the principals over the summer to read the book, 21st Century Learning, and so she was immediately, our principal was immediately on board with what we were talking about, what we were wanting to introduce to our staff. So what is 21st Century Learning? It's preparing them for a technological world, more real-world problem solving, and what we took the most from the conference and talking with the principal is really drawing from our current social studies and science curriculum and infusing it during our language arts time, not isolating a separate content area, but actually using it instead of or along with our language arts reading anthology.
A big point made at the conference had to do with increasing the use of nonfiction in the classroom, especially in elementary school, to engage boys in particular, who studies are showing are kind of being lost by the wayside, especially in the world of fiction. So, and it also just naturally increases the rigor and relevance of the content in the classroom through vocabulary and higher level thinking skills.
And we'll talk more about that in a couple more slides. Also, 21st century learning emphasizes relationships and the global awareness piece. And then the last part, instruction includes the rigor and relevance, which for us is what we're going to be calling the new 3 R's of education, the rigor, relevance, and relationship piece that has been, it's not necessarily new, but it was definitely new vocabulary to be aiming for at the elementary level. And it's been very happily accepted at our school site, which has been fun to watch and see the levels increase of expectation for our students and our staff.
So those were the highlights of the conference in general. And moving on specifically, I mean, honestly, as Stacy and I were flying home on the airplane, we started to begin the conversation of, you know, okay, nonfiction, keeping in the boys, you know, using our science and social studies materials. What do we have? What's available? How can we do it? So we made some very significant changes. I mean, they might seem not significant to someone who's outside the classroom, but they actually are quite significant when you're inside the classroom. We're using our science and social studies as a tool to teach language arts. Just the content itself, identifying main ideas, supporting details, using all the comprehension skills, inference, cause and effect.
And that was new to us as a staff, a new idea to be using and beefing up our language arts, which we were feeling we were pretty comfortable with using, and then to start out social studies and science and using the workbooks, and it does automatically brings more relevance to their lives. They know about community, they know about things in science because that's what they're naturally interested in. That relevance is exciting for them, and it's just naturally more rigorous with the vocabulary and what's expected. And so it was a simple change, but a little difficult at first for the teachers, and then the biggest benefit because the kids are very excited and more boisterous about their learning, which is all good things, very vibrant in our classroom.